Welcome to the magical journey beyond mediocrity, where the mystical and the practical become aligned. You're listening to Meant for More, the Seeker's Guide to Success, with your host, Seeker's Guide and coach, Kristen Lloyd. Kristen guides you through mindset shifts to increase your consciousness and live your best life. So let's leave mediocrity behind and step into your magical, magnificent life with Kristen.
Welcome back, everyone, to Meant for More, the Seeker's Guide to Success. I am your host and Seeker's Guide, Kristen Lloyd. I'm so happy that you've all tuned in today for the show, and I am so excited for today's guest, someone who I've actually mentored with, an amazing gentleman. This is episode 16 of the Meant for More show. Our special guest is Tom Johnston. While urban planning for Seattle's Pike Place market, Tom Johnston found balance practicing shiatsu and Swedish massage on the nights and weekends. He then pioneered practicing and teaching body-mind integration and holistic healing modalities. Licensed in mental health counseling, he now offers body-mind holistic coaching and the Breath Power Now program internationally. Welcome, Tom.
Well, thank you so much, Kristen. I'm thrilled to be here. It's certainly, a normal day in Seattle and very beautiful to be talking to you.
Awesome. And I'm so excited that you were able to be with us today. I'm so excited to tell our listeners about the Body Mind Holistic and the Breath Power Now, because it's such an amazing program. And so I'm really excited that you're able to share this with all of our listeners today. Where I begin, however, with all of my guests are to ask about their journey, about how they got to this point of sharing their very unique gift with the world. And you have such a amazing gift to share. So how did you come across where you are on your journey?
Yeah, well, it's been a long journey. I have realized pretty early that I'm a lifetime learner. So I approach most things by, learning. And I have a special way of learning that I call body-mind learning that's a little different from school learning, where you really focus on learning things from your body. You don't cancel your body out, because the biggest approach that you find in the school system here in the United States is it's all about your mind. You just think all day long and wonder when you get home, where is my body in all this? You can probably feel that even if you're not realizing it. So what I wanted to do is kind of just start at the beginning and look at my life journey in terms of the realizations that I came to about myself during that journey. So I'll start in 5th grade when I was chosen to be the editor of the 5th grade newspaper. So if you can imagine much of 5th graders having a newspaper, I was the editor of that. And from that experience, I realized that I'm a writer. So from then on, I saw everything through a prism of writing about it. I would look at things and try to write about them. And then I moved to a lot of experience with the Boy Scouts. I was an Eagle Scout and an honor camper in Ordo the Arrow, where I had experiences in nature. So I realized that I am very attuned to nature and definitely want to be someone who honors the earth and protects its resources. So then moving on to after I graduated from high school, and then I was sitting in my dorm room, and my parents were leaving, and I was all by myself. And I was so thrilled to be totally by myself. And I realized then that I was starting my life over. I knew nothing compared to what I was hoping to find out. So it was very much a beginner's mindset when I was sitting there saying, oh, I'm so thrilled because I can finally learn things on my own. And so I studied politics and international relations for 4 years, and I decided to be a diplomat. And then while I was still in school, I went to Europe and rode around in a Volkswagen for 3 months to 16 different countries. And I had my guitar with me, so I was singing on the street corners, and I realized that I'm sensitive to music and vibrations. And I then is when I became a singer-songwriter. So I would see my life through the prism of singing and music quite a bit. And then after college, I was in the Navy. I was a naval officer for 4 years. And the military taught me a lot about how to, I came to realize that there was so much waste in the military. It was wasting time, wasting human resources, and wasting the resources of the planet. So I really vowed to protect those resources. And I moved in from the Navy. I had a master's degree in urban planning, and I decided that I wanted to go into the inner cities and improve the living conditions there. So I did research in Skid Row areas of Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver, BC. And so then from that research, I went into becoming the urban planner for the Pike Place Market. And then that was, again, historical preservation, preserving what was there, because the original plan was to wipe out the market as it was and build a 4,000 car parking garage underneath there and then build it up all in concrete.
No way.
Yeah, that was the original plan. And then the citizens rose up against that and said, no, we don't want that. And so they actually, Victor Steinbrook, the architect for the Seattle Space Needle, got into the whole fray, and he became head of the historical commission. And I worked with 4 architects, and they come up with all ideas, and I had to make them into plans. And then we had to go into the historical commission, and they had to approve the whole thing. So that was, again, very much along the lines of who I saw myself to be and what I was becoming. And then I went from the urban plan for the Pike Place Market, I was the resources planning for the county. So I went kind of up to a bigger area to look at all their resources. And then I became the director of support programs for the Office of Agriculture. So I was specific about the farming resource. So I did all these things, and then urban planning was very amazingly mental. We had to plan in the Pike Place Market 40 years into the future. So I was doing all these mathematical calculations and trend lines about all kinds of different things. I was in charge of the parking plan and the transportation plan. So I had to figure out 40 years into the future about transportation. So then I went, in the middle of all that, I went on a 10-day silent Vipassana retreat. So it was a total opposite of what I was doing. It was silence, and you're just basically sitting there becoming very, very familiar with your breathing. So it was really becoming conscious of breathing, and then using that as a vehicle to become conscious of who you were and what you're all about. So this is how I realized and actualized my breath power. That's the first contact I came into that with. And so I went on to, my body was crying out for activity, and I went into doing massage. I got a massage license, and I was doing massage nights and weekends and doing planning during the day. So I was very busy, but I was balancing something that had to be balanced. And so I realized from that was my first body-mind realization, like, you really need to pay attention to your body as well as just your mind. So it's a really enlightening realization I had then. And then after I studied comparative urbanism in Mexico, I went to the naturopathic school and studied naturopathy, which is an approach to natural medicine. And from there, I went on to get a master's in mental health and rehabilitation counseling at University of Washington. So those two things, rehabilitation is more of the body, and then mental health is kind of the mind. So again, I was kind of forging my way into the holistic approach to healing. Then after that, I had a year of hypnotherapy training and a year of family therapy training. So by the time I started teaching, I had all this training, and I feel really comfortable learning things. I'm learning things every day, as everybody is, but I'm pretty good at focusing the learning and keeping it holistic and, in all four areas of holistic concerns, which is body, emotions, mind, and spirit. So all those things have to be looked at to consider anything to be holistic. So that I went into teaching shiatsu and massage, and from there I created a state-licensed vocational school called the Body Mind Academy, and then in 2005 went to the Body Mind Academy online, and now it's the Body Mind Holistic Academy and coaching. So that's the kind of journey I've been on, which is all these realizations and, realizing who I am, realizing my true self more and more. I started out knowing nothing about my true self. And now I realize that I'm a body, mind, holistic healer, teacher, therapist, and coach. So that's kind of the milestones that I help people discover about their own life history. And sometimes they're not sure, like, well, who am I? Who is my true self and who is my false self? So I really help kind of distinguish between a false self set of beliefs and attitudes and a true self set of beliefs and attitudes.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm always blown away by the depth of the guests that I bring on, but I had no idea of your history with Pike Place and urban planning and the shiatsu and Swedish massage, and how that all impacted your journey. And this is just phenomenal, and it gives credence to how each and every one of us, we are like this little budding flower, and we're all opening at different times, and your journey has just completely flowed, but you've gone with the twists and turns. That's
right. I mean, you really do need to kind of think about these things. And, I would write about it and say, well, what's going on with this? And then I do tons of research. Like every client I would see is a different story. Every client I can, and I'm going, what is the pattern here and how can I help? What's the way what can I say? What can I suggest that would help someone get back on the track of their true self, what they really want to be doing, what they feel the energy in doing? That's the real way you can tell the true self from your false self. There's no energy in the false self. It doesn't feel right. And if you're out of touch with your body, you can't tell. You can't tell what's right for you and what isn't right for you. That's why body comes first before mind. You have to really have a body-mind perspective. And I like to, talk about the difference between body-mind perspective, it's holistic perspective, and mind-body medicine, which people think they're the same thing, but they're not. They're not anything alike, because if you're talking about mind-body medicine, what are you talking about? You're talking about psychoneuroimmunology, right? That's the basis of mind-body medicine. And what is it? It's all about the mind. It's all about scientific research, which is fine, but where's the body in there? Where's the emotions in there? If you look at the emotions from the perspective of the mind only, you miss the whole part about what the body is feeling and what the body is telling you. So, for example, your emotions are so aligned with your body, but they're very deep in the brain. The cortex is over another part of the brain, and that's what we call our mind, our thoughts, and our beliefs. But when you go down into your emotions, you go down into your feelings, you go down into your body. And when you go there, you start to realize that your emotions are very, very important to discovering who you are. And if you start with the belief, the mind belief that some of your emotions, these special feelings are bad or negative, then you're going to want to suppress those and not listen to them and try to get away from them. And that's the first step into unhealthy habits of mind and habits that can really derail your life journey.
Yeah. And if someone's not in touch with those emotions, or like you said, if they, the thoughts or the emotions, if they're suppressing them and they're not feeling them or exploring with curiosity, then it sounds like they're not aligned with their true self.
They aren't, and they can't get aligned. They can get off on the wrong track, and it's so tragic. I mean, all this stuff about negative emotions just puts you on the wrong track. You think that your fear is negative and bad, and you want to get away from it. But fear saves your life. If you didn't have your fear, you would die. So it's a big misconception when you start to see things only from your mind's perspective. And another negative emotion that's often identified is anger. Well, anger is vital for your ability to find out what your boundaries are and find out who you are, because your anger will tell you that. But if you're always suppressing your anger, do you know yourself? You can't. And even loss and grief, sadness and tears, people say to young boys, don't cry here, don't cry there, because young boys are taught to be tough. So they never cry. You find people 40, 50 years old never cry. Why? Because they've been taught not to cry. And it's very sad.
Stuffing those feelings down.
Yeah, I know. And it's the root to, ill health. But, one of the things that's most surprising to me after all the work that I do in the breathwork trainings I do about releasing emotions that have been repressed, and all the negative emotions that are repressed, I found that the most repressed emotion is love. Because we don't know how to feel or express love. And it just shows that once you repress any of your emotions, you repress all of them. Now, I'm not talking about emotions that are projected or blamed on others. When you project or blame your anger on other people, you abuse them. That's not anger. That's abuse. So it's not about yelling and screaming when you realize what your anger has to tell you. But with love, that's the one that everybody wants. Like, it's so amazing because when a baby is born, a baby has to have air, the baby has to have water, and the baby has to have food. But the baby also has to have love, or else it will die. And love is first communicated by touch, and then it's communicated between the mother and the child with her eyes. The baby starts to see, what is that coming from my mom's eyes? Why? What is that? And then the mom talks to the baby with loving sounds. The baby can't tell its words, but loving sounds communicate something. And then the mother touches the baby, and the baby knows that it's safe and loved. And not that the baby knows what love is or what we call love, but there it is. The baby can survive now, that it has the love it needs. Later on, we live in a touch-phobic culture. Later on, you're not allowed to touch. After toddlerhood and childhood, there's a time like age 10, 11, 12, 13, when people aren't allowed to touch in a family anymore because they're afraid of sex. They're, brothers and sisters, fathers and mothers and sons and daughters. So they don't touch each other anymore. And then it becomes, how do they express love verbally? And it gets very confusing. So in dating, the L word, love, is something that brings up anxiety, isn't it? Where, when do I say I love somebody? I don't know. Do I feel? Can I trust my feelings? I don't even, know what they are fully. I'm just learning. Is this love? What is love? Nobody really knows. It's such a huge word and so many types of love. For example, unconditional love is what you have in the family. It's not, there's a lot of conditional love. Like a lot of families, they think that you have to do something right in order to be loved. They teach that to the child. Whereas what the child really needs is unconditional love that babies have. Babies are loved just because they're babies. Everybody loves a baby. Very powerful. But then after you start learning things, then it's sort of like, how are you performing? Are you worthy of love? And everybody wonders, am I good enough for love? And then it starts to get really confusing. Like, you need a strong self-realization of your own love for yourself to hold you on a firm, easy keel so that you can try to do things where others will love you, because most love is conditional. There's very little unconditional love out there. That's more of a spiritual thing, isn't it?
Well, and I was going to ask you to kind of go deeper with that and to talk a little bit more about emotions and how they work in relationships, because what I'm getting from what you're saying is that when the baby is born, right, there's not that mind connection between the mother and the child. There's a body connection, the touch connection, right? The body connection. Mm-hmm. And then the body connection happens until that certain age where, no, you're not supposed to touch anybody, hug,
The touching disappears. So where's the love? The touching disappears.
And then one of the things that we see in, and I've seen this a lot, that I've done a lot of work with teenage girls. And so what I see teenage girls then doing, and this is also part of our culture and society, that they're so craving that that touch, and of course the hormones. They want to be not touched. They want the platonic touch from their family members, but then because, like you said, it's then reverberated the not enough, that then because of the hormones and the teenager-ness, that then they go and they give of themselves physically, because that's also what they've been taught or seen or whatever, that if I'm accepted sexually by a young male, then I will be loved. And so a lot of young girls fall into this trap of sex equals love, and not really honoring themselves in their bodies. And so
well, what I want
mean?
to say about that is, it's like it happens in the family where you're safe and loved, and then you have to go out, you have to leave your family. So then what do? One of the problems within families is that when it's taught in families that love comes from other people, it doesn't come from yourself. The truth of it is, though, that loving yourself is very important, but it's not honored or expected in this culture. Loving yourself, in fact, is taught that there's something wrong with it. Many people have been taught that loving yourself is wrong and you shouldn't do it. You should get your love from other people. Now, that is not healthy. Where does your love for other people come from? If, first of all, you're blocking your emotions. Secondly, if you can't love yourself, the only place that love for others can come from is loving yourself first. So what I teach a lot of people to do, and what I'd like to teach in the time that we have left a little bit about, is how do we actually feel the love that's been repressed, and how do we actually feel it for ourselves? So would it be okay if I did a little exercise on that with using the breath?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'd like everybody to do, if they're driving and they'd like to experience this, pull over and park safely and get in a very comfortable position. And I'm going to guide you through a brief experience of using your breath. And I teach 3 types of breath in my Breath Power Now program. I teach a full breath, I teach a thin breath, and I teach a soft breath. So all of those have emotional components. I'm going to show you a soft breath here briefly. A soft breath is offering you the opportunity to have a very gentle experience of your own love for yourself through really starting to appreciate the power of your breath. So if you're in a comfortable position, I'd like you to simply relax and close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open if you choose, but have them be soft eyes. And begin to take a few soft breaths, even though you don't know what they are. So as you're breathing very, very softly, even though you don't know what that is, you kind of get into the space where you're feeling accepting of yourself. You're feeling like, oh, I don't have to be so hard on myself. And you start to notice that your breathing is soft. It's not hard or forced. It's just very, very comfortable. So you're breathing, you're noticing that you're breathing, and that's the biggest difference to start with. You're noticing that you're breathing. You're becoming conscious that you're breathing. And it's so wonderful to notice that, because you can feel the soft, gentle breaths entering deep into your lungs at your own pace. Gradually, you move your awareness down to the cellular level, And feel the satisfaction that every cell in your lungs and your whole body feels to be breathing clean, cool, clear, relaxing air. You can feel the satisfaction move throughout your entire body as each cell begins to feel the joy of oxygen, the joy of metabolizing that oxygen, and perhaps becoming fully oxygenated for the first time. So the satisfaction you're feeling is an expression of your love for yourself. You're letting yourself feel the wonderful feeling of oxygenation, of life itself. And every one of your 75 trillion cells is getting what it needs. And you're the one who's giving the love to those cells. So let yourself open up to the inner awareness when you're ready to feel that love for yourself. And it's now okay, very gently, to show your body more love by slowing your breathing down. As you become even more relaxed in the process, perhaps more relaxed than you're used to, you can slow your breathing down and feel your inhales becoming luxuriously longer, feeling your exhales easily extending longer than you knew they could. And as you pay closer and closer attention to your breathing, you realize that there's no rush. You won't run out of air. This aspect of your breath power is your soft breath. You can trust your soft breath to fulfill your oxygen needs. Breathe now with more and more softness and relaxation. And your exhale becomes longer. And it's okay if you want to sigh as you exhale. It's okay to let go of your tension, your fears, and your worries with your exhale. So now that you're in the alpha state of mind, you can notice how these soft breaths feel, and you can let the love for yourself be felt throughout your entire body. Take a moment to express the love you feel for all you've been going through in the last week. You can say to yourself, I love all the things you've done and all the things you've accomplished in the last week in order to keep us alive. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So it's okay to start to speak words of love to yourself. It's okay to express your love for yourself and feel the joy and celebration that comes with it. I'm going to count from 5 back to 1 now. And when I say the number 1, you'll open your eyes, noticing how balanced, present, loved, and conscious you can feel. 5, letting yourself know that you can give yourself love whenever you choose by using the soft breath. 4, remember to use your soft, gentle breath to pause, relax, and breathe, especially when you feel nervous, afraid, or lonely. 3, realizing deep down that you do deserve your love. And 2, coming up and back. And 1, feeling awake, alive, and loved by a very important person, you.
That is so calming. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's something that, we're not taught to do, and it's good to learn that that's available anytime you want it.
Right. Because when you were talking about fear and that the most repressed emotion is love, I think that for so many of my clients, and probably yours too, the emotion that I hear about most is fear and anxiety. And most of the clients that I see now are coaching, not counseling, but they still have some prevalent level of anxiety.
Sure they do.
Not to the level that they would go seek out an anxiety medication.
Well, not to the level where it becomes a mental health problem, but
right.
It's still a life problem because people want to get help to help repress their feelings that cause their anxieties. I mean, they want help to go in a direction that's not going to be helpful. But
right.
when people realize the truth about emotions and the body sense, then they're going to be able to calm their anxieties. Then they're going to be able to give themselves the love that they need and let it flow outward to others rather than trying to get it from others or force others to give it to them.
I love that. Tapping into it from within.
That's right. Yeah, so that's really the core of a lot of the body mind holistic coaching that I do is to just clue people into some of the simple things that they can do to get themselves onto the right path, even if they've never been on it.
Right.
Realizing that they have the guidance within them to find that path because it feels right. And they've been feeling wrong for so long, they think that that's their identity.
Right. And I love what you say about that because I agree that we can start at any time. I think that another thing that I've heard over the years is, well, I'm too old or I'm too far gone. And I think those are just excuses because
they're not even excuses. They're just mindsets. It's not that people want to give out an excuse. That's just the way they think. They've been taught that from day one. And so to start to think in other ways just takes some repetition. I mean, they need some time to sense where that right track is for them. That's why I'd like to give your listeners a little bit of a free intro to Body Mind Holistic Coaching. And it's called The Story I Tell Myself Now is Up to Me. Like we've been telling ourselves stories about, what's wrong with us for a long time. And, okay, that was then. This is now.
Right.
The story I tell myself now is up to me. So it's got 4 steps, and they can access that by sending me an email at bodymindholistic@gmail.com.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask you, how is Body Mind Holistic Coaching different or similar from what we just did? I'm assuming that it's a lot, there's a lot more to it. And I'm so glad that you shared that because I was going to ask, how can our listeners try it for free? But how would you expand upon, what the coaching is? Is it just breath work or does it go beyond the breath work?
Well, it's holistic. What that means is it attends to the body, and there's a whole range of things there. There's the body is fitness and nutrition. The body is emotions. The body is touching and how to. There's a lot of ways that you can have the kind of self-soothing that your body needs. All those things aren't taught. It's like you need, that's one of the reasons you need Body Mind Holistic perspectives and suggestions for you to try out. And that's what I do, is I give suggestions, my clients try them out, and then we see how that works and go from there. And then the backdrop to all of that is kind of like what I shared from the beginning, and it is, how do I get on the pathway of my true self life experience? And it is through doing all these kind of body, mind, holistic things. That's how you find yourself. That's how you find where you belong in this world.
Right. Well, I love the word alignment. So being in alignment with your true self, because, well, finding yourself is a journey. So I can see where
Definitely.
that is. Getting in touch with that inner self. I think it also goes along with, tapping into your intuition, who you've been all along, like returning home.
Like your intuition is your spiritual sense. It's like, it's kind of like a combination of everything else. When you're acting intuitively, something pops. Your intuition says, "Oh, that's the answer." It's a gut thing. It's a body mind thing. And it's not just sent from above. It comes from below. It comes from everywhere. All your experiences are integrated into this one idea or one sense or one thing, like, oh, I'm getting an intuition. I shouldn't go on that plane. Well, then the thing with intuition is it's sometimes right on and it sometimes is not. It's not always correct. So you really have to reality test your intuitions once you allow them into your awareness. Some people repress all their intuitions, and so it's about allowing them in. But then the key is to reality test them with your mental belief system, your thoughts, your realizations, and your body sense, your emotions. What are your emotions telling you? And then your observations. Your observations depend on all of your senses, and then your conclusions from, oh, the light's on, the light's off. Oh, there's a noise. All of those things are necessary to reality test your intuitions.
Right. And so for our listeners who don't know what reality testing is, how would they do that?
Simply by checking. In other words, you have an intuition, like, I shouldn't go on that plane. Well, then you start to get busy. You start to check and see what kind of a plane was that? How old is it? How old is the plane you're flying on? How many people are on it? Where is it going? What are the stops getting to and from? And then you start to get knowledgeable about your intuition. You start to say, well, what am I feeling about it? Is this trip that I'm going on more important than my intuition? Well, maybe it is. And so then you choose to go on the flight, and then you'll see if your intuition was correct. If your intuition was that it would be crashing, that's one thing. Your intuition might be that you might meet someone. Your intuition might be that that the plane will have problems or whatever. There's a lot of different intuitive information flowing into your being all the time.
Right. You had mentioned earlier about families and how there's a disconnect, in terms of warmth and love, and the hugging and the and all of that. How have you discovered, as a family therapist, how much does this specifically tear families apart, and how do families get put back together? What is the body mind connection? How does that help families?
Well, that's a big topic, because families get estranged from each other, with the people within them, basically by this whole loss of love, loss of the ability to express love to each other. So, for example, when family members are not put in touch with how to express their anger safely, then they don't have a way to express it. And then they just hold on to it, and it builds up. And the only thing, they get so frustrated that the only thing they can do is cut the connections. So you'll find various family members who aren't speaking to various other family members, and then they choose sides, and then they gang up, and then they act out. So it's a lot of connections that get broken by a lot of habits that don't work. So my job as a family therapist is to put families back together by teaching what needs to be taught and by helping family members start to reconnect. A lot of times it can be by things like Skype or by phone. It's also very helpful to, I've had families, generations get together. The biggest family intervention I had was about 46 people of various connections around the birth of a child. And so it was like all these people were connected and they were involved in this particular child's birth for a lot of different reasons. But what I'm saying is, in terms of how families get put back together, there can be a period of getting used to letting go of some of the things that caused the disconnection to begin with. Like I said, the story I tell myself now is up to me. If you want to change the story you tell about your family, you can, but you'll need to let go of the story you told yourself in the past first.
Right. And, I know that there will be people listening to this. That, and you and I both know, because we're in the field where there's obviously appropriate touching, inappropriate touching, and, but with hugs, with love, that comes from family members. And because our culture, the way that our culture is about, oh, well, you're a teenager, you don't hug. And that was something that actually was very prevalent in my own family. And I didn't realize it until much later. I remember my dad hugging us a lot when we were little, but then when we came of age, just like what you were talking about, we didn't get hugs because
Yeah, and you're thinking as a young one, you're thinking, what's wrong with me? Well, and so the exact thing that all children think is, whenever there's a withdrawal of love like that, there is something wrong with me. That's the only explanation that makes any sense to them, and it's not the truth. So I spend a lot of my time in coaching and counseling about that misperception.
Right.
It's like there has to be an explanation. Well, the only one readily at hand is, there's something wrong with me, and there isn't.
Right.
But that's the explanation of choice, and that's the core of families breaking apart. It's the core of unhealthy habits. And, if you can start to, those who are listening to this can start to counter that idea that there's something wrong with you. And it came from a long time ago, but it's not true.
Right. Because there is this a very healthy love from hugging your relatives. And obviously we're talking about, the proper.
Well, it's learned. You have to learn how to hug, and it has it as an expression of unconditional love. So, yeah, you're not going to, want to be communicating sexual energy through a hug to a family member. It's more learning to have containers and boundaries and a real awareness of what your emotions are.
Right.
And then allow love to flow where it's appropriate, where it's true, where it's real.
Right, right, right. And that's where I think our society, because there is a lot of the inappropriateness, sadly, but then so many people get scared of, well, then I can't show my love appropriately.
Yeah, then they feel totally isolated and they're not getting the love they need, because everybody still needs love, even though they're not children anymore, even though they're not babies anymore. The need for love is still there. The question is how to receive love safely and how to give love safely. The first thing that's very, very safe is to love yourself and let that love flow outward unconditionally. Then you can choose a life partner if you want, a date if you want, but, love can be then, talked about, hopefully. Love is kind of a taboo subject in a way, even though everybody wants it and everybody in a way wants to talk about it. Nobody really knows how to talk about it, or a lot are very confused about how to express it.
Right, right. And I think that you've put an amazing, we've been talking about the body-mind connection, but somehow I think this episode should be how to express love.
Yeah. And that is the body-mind connection, because that's the important thing about integrating the body and mind. You can isolate yourself by mental beliefs.
Oh, true.
True. And just freeze the body out, and then you don't get the love that your body needs. So there's a lot to this, and it does have to do with the holistic connection between your body, your emotions,
right,
your mind, and your spirit. They all come in, and they all have to.
What do you think is the most important thing that you'd like to share with our listeners that you haven't already shared about the body-mind connection? Or about love?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that the primary thing is to listen to your body. Listen to your body. That's why body is first, because your body will tell you so many things if you're listening. Like, there's a pain, what do? We take a pill. No. What is the pain telling you about what's going on? Maybe it's because, find out what the pain is about. Maybe it's because of the way you slept last night. Maybe it's because your pillow is too thick, or there's no support in your back, your mattress is coming apart, so you need a new mattress. All these things are messages from your body. And, unfortunately, people ignore them for lifetimes. I mean, they just ignore their body, and they push it, they abuse it in all kinds of ways. One of the ways is by substances like, tobacco, alcohol, of course. Those things destroy your body. So I've spent a lot of time helping people give up tobacco and alcohol, because they do destroy your body. And so
right.
If you really listen to your body, you're not going to be doing things that hurt it. But it takes listening first.
Right. Yeah. I think that that's so important, listening, really tuning in to the body, because like you've been sharing this whole time, our minds will convince us otherwise if we're not tuned into the body.
Yeah, and our minds have been, we've been taught in this culture, especially men have been taught to ignore their bodies and just get on with work, Women have a little bit less of that, but they're getting more of it. Now they're coming more into the workplace. And so it's kind of like work, and then try to recover. So that can be anxiety producing, because, you have an anxiety about pleasing your boss, about doing your job right, about learning your job, and your performance. And a lot of times performance does come with the price of ignoring your body for a certain amount of time. And then that eventually catches up with you.
Right. I'm still so mellow from that breathing exercise. I'm going to ask, are any of your breath power programs available to our listeners?
Yes, I'm doing the Breath Power Now program for anybody who'd like to become more in touch with the breath's power to help you get on track in your life. And like I said, I teach 3 different types of breathing and ways to use your consciousness of your breathing to interrupt stress patterns. So the Breath Power Now program is available by giving me an email to bodymindholistic@gmail.com and send me an email and just request information about the Breath Power Now program, and I'll send you a PDF with all the information in it, and you can choose to take that. It's 10 modules. Each module takes about 2 weeks or so, and so it's about 20 weeks altogether.
Yeah. Are you also training practitioners? We also have entrepreneurs that listen to the show, and you had mentioned the Body Mind Academy. Do you train other practitioners in the breath power programs or in the body mind connection therapies?
Yeah. What I have going with Body Mind Holistic Coaching is the Body Mind Holistic Academy has a coach training program. So if you want to become a Body Mind Holistic coach, then you could get information about that program by giving me an email at bodymindholistic@gmail.com. And
how can our listeners find you on social media? Are you on social media?
Yeah, there's Body Mind Holistic Academy Facebook page. So log on to Body Mind Holistic Academy. It's BODYMINDHOLISTIC Academy.
Okay.
And then, just do a post on there, leave a message, let me know what you'd like, and, we can answer your question or send you the information you need.
Right. And they can also find you via email at bodymindholistic@gmail.com.
Right. That's correct.
Amazing.
Cool.
Amazing. Yeah. Any final words for our listeners? Because this has been such an amazing show.
I know, it's really fun because there's a lot of joy in the body-mind connection. I mean, it's not all, shall we say, getting rid of habits that are destroying your body. I mean, that's part of it. But there's the joy of life. I mean, when you can give yourself the love you need, you can have the joy in life that's all around you, just waiting for you to find those infinite ways that give you the love and the joy that you need. It's like, okay, I'm in touch with myself. How can I love myself right now? And, maybe it's by buying yourself something. Maybe it's by just sitting and relaxing for a moment. Maybe it's by having a beautiful garden,
Right.
All these things will come clear when you get free of stress and you can feel yourself on your own life pathway and feel your own true self and stand in your truth.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing.
Great.
Thank you so much for being here, Tom. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's been wonderful to be on with you, and congratulations on having a radio program and doing all the things you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been such a blessing, and I'm so glad that I'm able to share you with the world because you've got these breath programs are so amazing, and I really hope that that our listeners are able to connect with you to gain access of them, because you're doing amazing work with this. So thank you for being
Thank you.
on.
And I look forward to hearing from anyone who would like to email me.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. It has been another phenomenal show. To share the love and continue the conversation, hop on over to the Seekers group on Facebook, www.facebook.com/groups/The Seekers Path. And until next time, remember, you are meant for more, and keep seeking.
Thanks for tuning in to Meant for More, the Seeker's Guide to Success. But the fun doesn't end here. Head over to KristenLloyd.com for your Seeker's Guide workbook filled with exercises to help you go from mediocre to magically magnificent.